What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Terror Table, a horror movie podcast that is presented by the Saskatchewan Podcast Network. I'm one of your hosts. My name is Mitch, and alongside me today I have...
You got Kyle.
And you got DJ Buzi.
All right, the whole gang is here. We have an incredibly exciting episode for you guys today. This has been a long time coming. It's been in the works for a very long time. We have a bucket list guest for this episode, which you probably know since you clicked on the episode and you can see what we're going to be talking about or who we're going to be talking to. But this episode, we had the opportunity to speak with Munro Chambers, who we all know and love from DEGRASSI. Buzi, Kyle, what was the first one that you mentioned?
The latest Buzz.
The latest Buzz.
Yeah, but he's also been in recent genre films like KNUCKLEBALL, which was directed by Michael Peterson, who is a previous guest of the show. He was in Harpoon and HELLMINGTON, which is a movie that I know Buzi talks very highly of. It's an amazing interview. It was short. We had a half an hour with him, but we definitely made every second count, and it was awesome, and we can't wait for you guys to hear it. So we talk all about Turbo Kid, DEGRASSI, and his time as a child actor. So we are so grateful that we had the opportunity to do that, and we hope you guys enjoy the episode. Buzi, can you hit us with, can you let our listeners know about our sponsors this week?
Here's a word from our sponsor, the Saskatchewan Department of Highways. Take your time, be patient and safe out there. Saskatchewan's winter climate can be extreme, frigid, cold, severe changes in temperature, strong winds, and heavy snowfall. This weather can wreak havoc on roads and keep snowplow crews busy. Snowplows pull over every 10 to 15 kilometers for you to pass safely. Treat snowplows the same as you would an emergency vehicle. If a snowplow is pulled over and has lights flashing, slow to 60 and pass with caution. It's not a race. Give some space. Pass snowplows safely. Check the Saskatchewan Highway Hotline before traveling and visit saskatchewan.ca/snowzone for more information.
Shout out highways.
Yeah, shout out snowplows. All right, well, let's get into it, you guys. Let's talk about a couple things that we've seen over the last couple of weeks, and then we can get on with the main portion of the conversation with Munro Chambers. Who wants to go first? Kyle?
Well, since you kindly introduced me as the first person, I suppose I'll go, Mitch. Thank you, kind sir. I got one film to talk about this week because, we had a very interesting discussion last time we were all together around the table talking about the Shapiro disaster, which I still haven't seen, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to call it a disaster. I think that's okay.
I want to cut in here and just say that I have talked to multiple people who have listened to that episode who all really enjoyed the movie. So shout out them. That's totally cool.
Okay. Well,
yep.
Hey, fair enough.
I thought I made it clear that it's actually it's not a bad movie. It's well made. I do not fuck with that.
Fair enough.
But,
I think
sorry,
that is
where are you going from this? Ben Shapiro movie? What?
This one makes sense. Trust me. I'm going to talk about 2009's POLYTECHNIQUE.
Oh, nice.
Which I need to be upfront about. I, for some reason, was positive that I had seen POLYTECHNIQUE, but 10 minutes into POLYTECHNIQUE, I realized that I have not seen this movie before. I don't know in what universe I thought. I don't know. I couldn't retrace my steps into understanding why I thought I had seen this movie. Maybe I just tricked myself into thinking I had seen it. I don't really know. But I'm being open and honest. This is essentially my first time watching it. So here I am watching Denis Villeneuve's 2009 POLYTECHNIQUE, which I wanted to talk about on the show. And actually, the reason I wanted to watch it is because our discussion about, what was it called? Run, Hide, Fight?
Run, Hide, Fight.
Run, Hide, Fight, yeah. Because of that. So for those who don't know, this is a film directed by Canadian Denis Villeneuve, who's done half a dozen amazing films, and this one included. And it's talking about the POLYTECHNIQUE massacre in Montreal in 1989. So this film came out as kind of a 20-year anniversary, way to pay homage and way to pay respect to this event that happened in real life.
And the victims.
And the victims included, absolutely. And it's the film presents the situation with a lot of realism. It doesn't really hold anything back. And it's interesting to look now, especially when we've had so many great discussions about misogyny and, how we can go about looking at creating equal spaces and creating equality for, women and BIPOC people and the ways that we can look into the past and look at how we've had these horrific events take place and how we have grown from those events, but also how those events still take place today, and how we need to really, make ourselves familiar with these past events so that we can move forward. And I think a film like this does a really, really good job of that, because I mean, I would probably argue there's a lot of folks who watched this movie when it first came out, or are watching it, I guess, like myself to an extent, for the first time 2021, who probably didn't know a lot about what happened at this event in Montreal, where this was essentially, a violent massacre based on what we would kind of call incel culture at the, in 2021. That name wasn't used then, obviously. More or less, it was an attack on people who identified and spoke, feminist theory. So it's the kind of film where it's very fact-based. There's not like any like narrative liberties really, as far as I understand, and it does that with a purpose, and I think that's the most respectful way you could go by making a film like this. And I think the film is extremely respectful while also being incredibly horrific in many different ways, mostly just on the subject matter alone, but also in the way that, Denis has, like I said, he's not really holding back on this. Like, there is graphic scenes, and it's presented in an interesting way because it's presented in black and white with intent, so that it's not necessarily all about the blood and gore, however, that is still there. So,
Kyle, is that problematic for you on a scale of 1 to problematic?
No, this is the opposite of problematic.
This is how it's done.
This to me that's exactly right, Mitch. This is how it's done. I don't know. I think something like this, it needs to be seen. I think this is honestly a film that should be shown in schools. I'm not even kidding. Like, I think this is something that like kids need to understand. Like, if you're spending too much time on the wrong sides of, fringe groups or the internet, there's really like toxic ideas that can start to thrive within yourself. And I think a film like this can really show how that is a real thing that can happen and has happened. And we need to work forward to sort of stop those ideas moving forward. And anyway, Polytechnique, like, I think it's just a night and day contrast to basically what you said about the film last week, Mitch. I can't totally speak on it personally because I haven't seen it. And you're saying that some people really do enjoy it. However, I think, in generally speaking, that between the two approaches taken here, of course, one is based on a true story, so they're inherently different. I think this is a much more sincere and a very, true to form approach if you're interested in seeing something that tackles a subject like this. Not that it's romanticized in any way, but I absolutely couldn't, promote this film more, tell you to watch it more. I mean, Denis is a fucking national treasure for a reason, and this is one of his first features, and absolutely, absolutely worth checking out if you haven't seen Polytechnique, which apparently I hadn't, which I think is somewhat hilarious and also kind of offensive to myself. Yeah, watch this one. I don't know. I think, have you guys seen this one?
I have
I haven't.
I own it on Blu-ray, and so I watched it when I think Prisoners had just come out, and I was just obsessing over Denis, so I wanted to get all of his movies. So I got Polytechnique and Incendies, and but did you know he's shot Polytechnique twice?
Yeah, I was just gonna get into that. He shot it twice, and I watched the French version.
Good. That's how you should watch it.
I did a little, because like I said, like 5-10 minutes into this movie, I had a weird revelation. I was like, wait, what the fuck? I have not seen this movie. What is going on? So then I literally did some homework to make sure like what version I should watch. And the fucking weirdest thing is I bought it on Blu-ray and I was watching it because I was like, oh shit, I haven't seen Polytechnique in 10 years. I'm going to watch it. Anyways, I'm living in a weird Bernstein Bears universe right now, and it's kind of weird. But this is a good one. It's also 77 minutes, which
crispy. Crispy.
Which cannot get me any more stoked.
Thank you for reminding me. This is a perfect time. We got an email.
Is it hate mail?
No, we got an email, and I wanna read it here. So this is from our friend John Allison. The title is Long Horror and Last Exorcism. Hey guys, just wanted to chip in with a couple of comments. The first, a short story about The Last Exorcism. This does contain a bit of a spoiler, so I'll warn everyone to jump a tiny bit if they don't want to hear it. I was lucky enough to catch it at Toronto After Dark Film Festival, and Eli Roth was in attendance. After the movie, Eli Roth was answering questions from the audience, and one person asked the question, "What happened at the end?" Roth stared for a second, shook his head, and said, "They fucking killed him." And I still can't decide if I hate Q&As or love them. Also, I wanted to provide a comment on long movies. I for one miss the days when movies were often 2 hours long, and I dig the big epic movies that run 3 or more hours. Short movies are a great bang for your buck, but I love when a movie has the time to breathe, and we as the audience get to live in that world. Just for fun, here are some great longer horror movies. It Chapter 2, 169 minutes. That's a little bit of a weird place to lead off with, John, as a movie that's
cold open,
widely not enjoyed, and also often criticized for its length.
Fair enough. Continue. Fair enough.
Yeah, I don't hate that movie, but anyways, this one's a better example. The Wailing is 155 minutes.
Right, that's a long.
Yeah,
one.
it has something to say. It's not a wrong turn movie that's 2 fucking hours long. The Wailing is entirely different. Let me get through this, Kyle, and then you can go.
Sure.
Dr. Sleep, an hour and 52 minutes. The House that Jack Built, 152 minutes. Suspiria, 2018, 152 minutes. Midsommar, 148. The Shining, 146. Cure for Wellness, 146. Also not a good movie. I Saw the Devil, 144 minutes. Rosemary's Baby, 137 minutes. Thirst, 135 movies. Would have been better at 90. It Chapter 1, 135 minutes. Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, 134 minutes.
He's doing it by runtime. Oh my God.
Bone Tomahawk, 132 minutes. P.S. Most Del Toro movies are just under 2 hours. Cheers, John. Yeah,
we get it, John. I think we get it, John.
So I need to make something clear here, and I want to maybe put a pin in this to some extent. I have always said this, and I even said this on my long lost podcast, A Second Viewing. My rule of thumb is I want a movie around 90 minutes, or I want a movie that's around 3 hours. Anything in between fucks me up, and I get kind of pissed off. I'm not gonna lie. That's how I like to think. Is I actually agree with you, John, with 100%. Like, to me, I want to get engrossed. If I'm there for like 2:45, 3 hours, I know it's a long one. I'm sitting with it. Let me be a part of that universe. I love it. I'm there for it. On the opposite side, keep it around 80, keep it around 90. Give me a nice, concise story. I'm in and I'm out. I got something good out of it. When I'm getting like a 2-hour movie and an hour 50 movie, like, not saying that means it's a bad movie, but I got to be honest, like, that's when I start to feel the runtime, or that's when I start to notice things that maybe I'm not really supposed to notice.
You want to trim the fat.
That's where the fat gets trimmed, and I'm not going to give you a list of that right now, because for me, it just happens far too often.
Give us the list. We need list runtime in order.
I would like to point something out about the terror table. We take this happens a lot, and it's totally fair, because we often forget that there's more than just 3 of us here. Like, when you make a podcast, everyone's listening. So there's a lot of jokes that we think are funny, and a lot of people don't see that they're actually, for the most part, jokes. And I think us shitting on long run times is a little bit of a joke. There's some truth in there, but it's the same thing with the DVD thing. When we were roasting Kyle for having DVDs for fucking years, it's like, we don't give a shit if we
all own DVDs.
It's just a joke, but it's one of those things that I just wanted to clear up, because it's totally our fault, like, that people don't understand our.
But Mitch has a great point though. Is like he listed, when John listed his movies, it's like, yeah, fucking Wrong Turn 9 isn't on that list, and that movie was so long, and that's kind of what we're talking about. Is like nonsensical storytelling that takes like 2 hours. And it just feels like a waste. Like, at least half an hour of that is a waste of your time.
I think generally my final thoughts on this is, to be honest, when a movie is around like an hour 50 to like 2:15, then I'm nervous. I want it to be shorter, or I want it to be fucking long. That's just how I am.
So, Kyle, you saw the 2
by that
VHS set of Titanic. Were you really worried? You were daunted.
I was ready, baby. Give me 4 hours. I'll take it in. I'll watch Santiago if I have to. I want a long fucking ass movie. I love long movies. I just don't like movies that can't decide if they want to be short or long. Then it's like, okay, chill.
So are you pretty excited? Because I for one am excited about Ari Aster's next movie that's supposed to be like 4.5 hours long.
Couldn't be more excited, Mitch. That's what I'm talking about. That's what we want. Come on, people. We do not want a fucking hour and 50 long movie. That's so boring. Just like, come on, guys. I mean, Mitch, you have your own opinion, but honestly, I feel very passionately about this, and I actually do hate movies that are that long.
It's a turnoff, because you got to carve out a perfect time for something like that. But exactly. I'm more than happy and so excited to carve out 4.5 hours for Ari Aster. Like, he's earned it for me. So
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that. All right, can we move on, boys?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm gonna knock a couple off. I'm just gonna echo. This is gonna be a pretty horror light episode because leading up, Polytechnique is not really a horror movie, but it is. I entirely agree. It's horrific, and I understand why.
I thought it was relevant to what we were talking about.
Definitely. And same with your pick on framing Britney Spears last week. That was also a perfect conversation for this show. I'm totally okay with talking about that stuff. And I watched Framing Britney Spears, and it was very good. I'm just gonna say that it was very good. It was very heartbreaking. I think it's very important that people see it so you can understand how to treat celebrities who are faced with when there's a camera on them at all hours of the day and at all times, especially since they were young. And I think that's the most important lesson you can learn from Framing Britney Spears, and it's free online. So I think if you're at all interested, I would suggest watching it. So yeah, that's Framing Britney Spears. I only have one other one to talk about, and it's another documentary series that is nothing to do with horror movies, but oh my God, I got obsessive with it, and I watched it twice. You guys, I already told you guys about how much I enjoyed this, but I didn't tell you that I watched it all again last night. I watched all 3 episodes again, and I don't know why. I think I'm in one of those places where nothing's really working for me right now, and I was like, I kind of just want to live in that world again, that bullshit world of Supervillain or the making of Tekashi 6ix9ine.
Oh, God.
So yeah, this is a 3-part documentary series on Crave that chronicles the rise and fall and rise of Tekashi 6ix9ine, the man who has rainbow colored hair, has 69 tattooed on his forehead. He's got a jigsaw puzzle on his face. Yeah, he's known for being one of the SoundCloud rappers of this generation, where he made a whole bunch of money off of short songs on the internet, and he linked up with he's just a little kid a small man who managed to link up with the actual Bloods in New York City, and he was putting them in his music videos. He was paying them. He had them all on payroll, and he eventually snitched on all of them and got 8 out of 11 of his closest friends put in prison. And the man is still alive. The joke is that it's unbelievable that he hasn't been killed yet, because how do you get away with snitching on such a mass level with such terrifying people, actual people who they're hardened criminals. That's their life. That's the way that and that's what's really good about the documentary. Is it actually, you feel bad for those guys because they're just a victim of their circumstance. They're a victim of the life that they were born into and the poverty and having to commit crimes in order to make money. And, when they finally start sort of straightening their life out by, getting involved with music, it becomes kind of they reference the death row thing. I don't know if people listening are hip hop fans. I've always been a fan of rap culture, and I was very obsessive with the whole death row, East Coast, West Coast shit, and I grew up just being very engrossed in that. But this is all very, very similar, but in such an internet way. The man is just a complete lunatic who managed to fuck so many people over and create such a life for himself with just a cell phone and a ton of dumb decisions, having his face fucking covered in tattoos and 69. That is just, I'm going to be honest, going into this, I always knew that he was just a shithead, and that I knew he snitched and whatever. And it's yeah, this guy's going to die right away. So whatever, who cares about him? I didn't know about all the nitty gritty stuff, all the little things that went into it. Yeah,
it's definitely a rabbit hole for sure.
He's a true monster, and Supervillain. I thought it was a really solid documentary series. I've seen it get beat up online, but I think that might be because a lot of the people watching it probably already knew everything about him, and for someone like me, I only knew the Cliff Notes versions. So I found it really, really interesting, and above all else, the thing that makes it so good is that idiot Tekashi 6ix9ine, he was filming everything. He had his camera out for everything. So there's footage, unbelievable footage that is in the documentary because someone had a camera in a place where a camera shouldn't be, a trap house, or different fights or shootings in clubs. Like it's a really interesting look into what's like the dangers of being an attention whore. And that's exactly what the man is he's just a piece of shit who just wanted all the attention. He just wanted to be famous. He wants everyone to know who he is. And now everyone does. And he loves it. He loves that people hate him. And that's like the worst part about it. So there's a little bit of a conversation you could have with this documentary in particular, because it's like, really, by making this documentary, you're just giving him what he wants. You're giving him more attention. But the thing is, I think honestly. Yeah, but I think a lot of people are missing the point of that's what the whole documentary is about. It's like, this is kind of like the nail in the coffin, and I think they handled it very well.
There's an issue with that, right? You have to talk about things to work through them. If you don't talk about things, then they can thrive, right? So.
Exactly. So I think if anything, this does not promote him even slightly. This just shows like it's addressing what we were just talking about with framing Britney Spears too. With it's giving too much attention to people who live off of that attention, and that's why, you know, as soon as I finished the series, I was like, God damn it, someone's got to kill this guy so that the Safdie brothers can make a movie. Because like if you've seen Good Time or Uncut Gems, it's like they would thrive in that world of like a Tekashi 6ix9ine movie. Right. But also, I don't want to give that guy any more attention. He doesn't need that. But I would love to see the Safdie brothers take on, like, maybe make like a conglomerate of like Tekashi, Lil Pump, like all those idiots who are getting tattoos on their faces and doing stupid shit. I don't know. The whole culture is just, it's crazy. Last thing I'm going to say about it, for me, the best thing about it is it's narrated by Giancarlo Esposito, who plays Gus Fring on Breaking Bad. And I think that those moments are riveting. I think it's really well and inventively shot and really cool. And basically, like there's like 2 or 3 times each episode where it'll just cut to like a white screen, and he explains to you, it's like, this is how a supervillain is born. They need this, they need this, they need this, and all of the checklists, all of it's there for Tekashi. It's just, I thought it was really powerful documentary filmmaking, and I, for one, really enjoyed it, and recommend people checking it out, even if it's just for the lulz, because you will laugh a couple times, because it's like, my God, this guy's an idiot. That's everything I got, boys.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, Mitch. I don't know. I think,
you know, I know that like right now it might not look like much, and like with that, but I think you give it a couple of years and it'll definitely be a very cautionary tale. I think we kind of talked about this off air, but like this is a guy who's like blackballed from the music industry. It's like, yes, as much as he's getting press, it's always negative, and eventually, yeah, and I think eventually people will just get tired. It'll run its course just like everything else, and you know, that's when the MC Hammer Love and Hip Hop stuff is going to come out. You know, I got no more money left. You know. Yeah.
I just, and one of the interesting things because I never heard a single second of any of his music going into this. So like when the music videos came in, I was like, oh my God, this is just trash. Like it's so bad. But there's interviews with him where he's talking about how he's like, I've never been into rap music ever. I grew up on Parkway Drive, All That Remains, and like he's talking about all these and that's why that makes sense when he's so aggressive on the vocals. Like he's always yelling, and you can kind of see. What, you stupid? It's so bad. But yeah, I don't know. I definitely recommend it. But that's all I got this week, guys. So Buzi, do you want to close us out? I know you saw something pretty exciting.
Yeah, I had something that will directly relate to the feature here, and it's the first time for me, and I know that it's essential viewing for everybody else at this point. Check out Turbo Kid, 2014 or 15?
2014.
Yes, starring Munro Chambers. We got Michael Ironside of Starship Troopers fame.
And Scanners.
And Scanners. Awesome movie, too. What a great film. I didn't realize what I was totally in store for. And I think the thing I like the most is it's really endearing, but also very funny. It has good comedy timing. I think that's something I wasn't totally expecting. And just the amount of homages and ability for the storytelling to come across as kind of a greatest hits of like, hey, I remember that part in something else, but I don't feel it in like a negative way.
Yeah.
You know, you have like there's some references to a lot of Spielberg, you know, things within this. And I don't really want to give it away. Alien, yeah, like there's tons of awesome stuff in this that, you know, when you're watching, you're going to be like, holy shit, that's a reference to this or that, which is totally fun. And it does that without losing track of itself. I don't think this is a movie where it's just kind of like, hey, I've seen this before and that's it. It tells its own story, and I think it does a great job of it. And it kind of flips a little bit of that hero's journey. It kind of adds its own flavor to that, and I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree, man. And so I saw it for the first time at the Saskatoon Fantastic Film Festival in 2014. And that was before, like, it's important that a lot of people need to remember that, like, Turbo Kid came out, it predates, like, the whole nostalgia porn era, like, where everything was synth and 80s. And granted, this was the same year that we got The Guest and A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, which were both heavily synth-driven scores. But that wasn't a huge thing before this year. Like, and that, like, these movies all were released in the same year. So it's not like they saw A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night or The Guest and were like, I want to do that. Right. All these people just naturally kind of felt like it was the right decision for that movie. And I think that's the best thing about Turbo Kid is I always have compared it to Hobo with a Shotgun. But it's like Hobo with a Shotgun with a very earnest voice. And they're not trying to make jokes about all the things that we grew up and loved. And they're not cashing in on the corniness of stuff. It's just really well written and really pulpy and just fun. Yeah. It looks like bubblegum. The movie feels like bubblegum.
Totally.
I think that's such a testament to how great it is. I watched it again last night and it's so good.
And I like the stuff they do. You have kind of scenes where it'll take maybe something from a classic kung fu kind of styling, and then you'll have something where there'll be kind of like a spaghetti western moment. I think it's really fun that way. You'll definitely keep you guessing as you're watching it. For the first time at least, I had a good time.
Yeah, it's definitely not like, doesn't really beat you with a bat in terms of like, oh, remember this? Remember you like this, right? Like it's less that, which I think, we've become a bit more critical of because it's happened so often now that we can kind of notice that. But despite that kind of criticism, that's not even like really in this film or even like referenced. Instead, it's just actually like having genuine appreciation from things from the past. And like you're mentioning, Buzi, like not necessarily just the 80s, like from 70s, 60s, other things like film and popular culture as a whole, and kind of making this interesting amalgamation into appreciating like why we want to watch movies, why people want to make movies, things like that. It's very inspiring actually in a lot of ways. And it's clearly a project too that like did a hell of a lot with the resources that it had too, and especially considering like the fact that it is kind of like tackling like these like kind of like larger than life set pieces and referencing like these big blockbuster movies. It still does that in a really sort of I don't want to say humble, but it does it in a very like reserved way that is still really effective.
It does it in a very Canadian way, honestly.
I guess. I'm not trying to say it's like less than. To me it just feels like it feels attainable. It's really interesting in that sense.
No, I totally agree. And it's important to note that it's actually set in 1997.
Right. Yes,
so like that's one of my favorite things about it too, is that
year is Lost World.
Yeah, there you go. And same Anaconda. And it's just such a great movie. But
it's a great one, yeah.
It's funny though, that's actually a good place for us to end off and to usher in this conversation with Munro Chambers. But I love that this was such a big deal for us. Like we're huge fans of Munro. But it's pretty funny how we're all like huge fans of his because of different reasons. Like
I was going to say, we're all kind of all over the place with that.
Well, that's what to me, it's really interesting that Buzi, like you've said multiple times on the show, we just got to say Munro's a king. Like you would say that. You're like, I fucking love Munro Chambers. He's great and everything. And you hadn't even seen Turbo Kid, which has kind of become the movie that he's most well known for. And I think that's awesome.
Well, and for me, it was, just with him on DEGRASSI. And then I didn't realize he was in Harpoon, which is the next movie I saw from him, until we were sitting in the theater. So it was like, holy shit. I remember that someone from DEGRASSI, not taking anything from DEGRASSI, but it's mostly a very upbeat kind of show. So, you don't know how much depth some of those characters do have. And that, once again, nothing against anybody on DEGRASSI.
Well, Drake has depth. Let's not forget.
That's true.
I remember when we saw that screening at the festival and we were walking outside just to talk about the movie and you were like, Eli's in it. I was like, what? You're like, Eli from DEGRASSI. Yeah, that was awesome. All right, boys. Well, this was fun, and we're really excited for you guys to hear this episode. So without further ado, enjoy this conversation with Munro Chambers.
Prepare to taste a turbocharge of justice in the face!
All right, we are honored to welcome one of the Terror Table's favorite actors who has first appeared on screen at the young age of 9 years old. Since then, he has become a household name when portraying the all-too-relatable Eli Goldsworthy on the hit Canadian television series DEGRASSI, which served as comfort, inspiration, and guidance for countless kids and teenagers, including the three of us during our youth. In 2014, he embodied the unforgettable character of the kid in the post-apocalyptic, synth, neon, and blood-soaked cult classic Turbo Kid. We then saw him re-team with legendary actor Michael Ironside for Knuckleball, a twisted, fresh take on the familial Home Alone-esque horror subgenre, which was written, directed, and produced by friend and previous guest of the show, Michael Peterson. He continues to push boundaries and defy the expectations of child actors by appearing in a handful of other great horror and thriller titles like Hellmington and Harpoon. It is our honor to welcome Munro Chambers to the Terror Table. Welcome, Munro.
Mitch, I gotta bottle that, man. That was an intro. Holy.
You should get that everywhere you go.
No, man, not at all. That was way too much. That was way too kind. So thank you so much for the intro, but thanks so much for having me on the table.
Yeah, man, we're so excited that this is happening.
Thank you for having us.
This has been like a bucket list episode that we wanted to do. We've always joked about because like it seems weird, but we are really huge fans of yours, like stating back 20 years, like whenever you started on DEGRASSI. And it's been so cool to see you transfer into like more adult titles and everything. And it's you've been in some of our favorite movies of the last couple of years. I know Buzi is a huge fan of Hellmington, which came out a couple of years ago.
With our buddy Adam McDonald, he's been on the show
that's
twice.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, Adam, I was gonna say if there's anybody to get on that, if you actually, so Alex Williams and Justin Hewitt, who directed Hellmington, they're both really good buddies of mine. And they're just like Adam. They're just like Michael Peterson on Ironside, where they just have a wealth of knowledge of this stuff, of this genre, of this like corner of the industry. So that's cool to have Adam on because I've heard him on a couple podcasts, like other ones, and he knows his stuff. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Well,
I gotta say, I go back a little bit farther with the Munro appreciation. I'm a latest buzz guy. You know, I've been buzzing around.
That's a callback.
For a long time here, so I needed to put that in. I had to say it.
How long ago was that?
I was in elementary school, so I don't know.
All right, well let's go back. I hope you're okay with this, Munro, but let's go all the way back to the beginning. Let's briefly touch on your experience working as a child actor. How did you get your start in this?
I started with my parents just approached me because I have family that's in the industry, and they said they knew I liked building characters. And when I was about 3 years old, I came to my dad and said, "Dad, I'd like to be a cartoon. I wanted to be on Bugs Bunny. I wanted to be a cartoon." And he's, "I'm sorry, but that's not. You can't like be a cartoon." So I cried for 3 days, and then
understandable.
I got the opportunity to exactly. Then I got the opportunity to do commercials and audition for that kind of stuff, and then I got to be a part of an Alphabets commercial where they jump me into a screen and I become a cartoon that's fighting in my knight in shining armor and the dragon trying to save the girl. So
you did become a cartoon.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right. So that was pretty cool. But after that, honestly, it was just me and my brothers. I grew up with two brothers, and we did every sport under the sun. And this was just kind of like another activity. It was just, I started off just wanting to have fun. I always loved performing, loved building, like making characters. And then as I grew up and worked with some incredible actors, and I was very, very, very lucky at a young age to work with the likes of Jack Palance, Greg Kinnear, and some other actors I didn't really get to work hand on hand, but I got to see how they worked at a young age in certain films that came to Toronto. All the other sports and activities and passions kind of went away, and this was like my main focus. And so then I kind of just dove right in, and then over the years just kept trying to learn more about the craft and, how to build more cool, interesting characters.
You spent 5 years playing Eli Goldsworthy on DEGRASSI, an alternative character separate from bipolar. What was it like stepping in that character and knowing that your portrayal would serve as a representation for countless youth?
You have to be very careful whenever you're tackling roles like that. Anything that has to do with mental illness, anything to do with certain I was fortunate to play something as well. A character who had Tourette's, character who was manic depressant, and it has to come from a genuine place because you can't play the stereotype. That's the instinct. The instinct is to go and play the stereotype of what you see on the news, you see on other television shows or movies. But it's so with Tourette's, everyone thinks you just cuss words randomly, but it's so opposite of that. There's so many different variations and it's very personal. So when you're playing something like Eli, they wrote it so well, and that's something that DEGRASSI did incredibly, is that they do their research. They're not going to put something on camera without truly trying to put their finger on the pulse of the very, very specific experience that is. And when you're going through rehearsals, when you're being directed, when you're trying to build the character that they've written for you, they're making sure you're doing it authentically. And they want to make sure that you're doing justice to the people who are watching it, so they can feel like, like you said, like you can relate. And that was a big deal. And for me, just being that young, trying to portray that character, I've always wanted to play something that was authentic and enjoy that. But to see the effect it had, and to get the emails and the written letters and that reaction from people, and that interaction where we go to events and actually talk to people who said, I had this. And not even just my character, but other characters that went through stuff. Because that's what made DEGRASSI great, is that the ensemble was so big. So you can touch on so many other people, like kids that go through stuff like that. So it was important.
Yeah, because your character goes through a lot. And you're the first to discover, I can't remember his name, one of the kids who committed suicide from the hockey team. Your character...
Campbell.
Yes, Campbell, that was right. And then also you went through a miscarriage as well, your character did. Like, how much do you feel like you put yourself into that? Like, is that hard to do, especially with topics like that?
You tap into everything. I think you still have to wash away the character at some point. Like, especially when you dive into, it's really easier. It's not easier, but you're trying to relate yourself to that character in some way. So you're going to pull pieces of yourself, unless you're doing a complete transformation where you're playing a historical figure. You're always trying to pull from little parts of yourself. So that's what makes, I find, those kind of characters, if they have something like that going on in their life that they're living with, you can make it personal, because then you can find the root of it and say, okay, well, what would make me tick? What can I add there that I can implement? And for me, on my stuff on DEGRASSI, a lot of it had to do with Aislinn, Paul, and myself. So I was very, very lucky when I joined on to DEGRASSI, because I was paired with the most wonderful actor I could be paired with. We just had immediate chemistry. We had worked together prior, but I was very grateful and very lucky to be paired with her. And we built this relationship together and build those two characters. And so whenever we got to do something like the miscarriage, or even for me or my character to be vulnerable like that support system between us was there. And so I was very, very lucky to have a partner like that. So yeah.
I mean, you went through a lot being on that show, but I think the presentation of Eli was definitely also such a iconic aspect of the character. How was it being like the TV emo heartthrob of the decade? Did you get any like unexpected obstacles while portraying that aspect of the character?
Day one, trying to drive the hearse. Number one, I had to stretch out, try to because I'm not a big guy, so I had to like stretch out and touch the pedal. But it was it was such an old hearse that we literally had one of our shop guys there working it for me, because he had to kind of rev it up. And it was wild. I think it's on camera somewhere. I think it's someone behind the scenes, but that was pretty funny. But yeah, you put a little eyeliner on and you try not to be the stereotype, right?
Right.
You try not to. There's little things that you see the stereotypes of, but you just go head in. And again, you just you put the, everyone sees the emo guy. So he's the emo guy, and it's well, no, that's his style. That's his yum. Don't yuck at everybody's yum, but that's his style. And then there's all this else about the guy. It's not just he's this brooding guy who's just trying to cause trouble. No, he's a writer. No, he wants to direct. He has all this other stuff going on with the family, and he's very protective. So you find connections there that were a lot of fun.
Well, I can't tell you how important it is for people. I know all three of us, we were that character in high school in some way. Yeah, so it's and especially I think I'm actually just 2 weeks older than you. So it's almost like I grew up with that character. So it's crazy, man.
I think it's this guy right here. I'm holding up a DVD of this is season 11, part 1. Yeah,
show him the pillow. Show him the pillow, Kyle.
This has been talked about on the show for a while, but this makes the most sense to finally show it. Of course, people listen to this show, but I also have this awesome DEGRASSI pillow here. Unfortunately, Munro, you're not on this pillow, but know that the sentiment is there. Okay.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Yeah, that was the first 10 seasons there.
Yeah. It was pre Eli, but the love's still there.
The thought was there.
Great thing about the show is that I knew about the show before I was even on it. Everybody knew what the show was.
Sure, of course,
you heard about it. It's been on for 35 years now. I think it's like 40, but it's iconic, and it's iconic for those reasons. What Linda Schuyler started and what she did. She started as a teacher. It's purposeful. Mm-hmm. Yes, it can be teenage soap opera at times. That's the way it's been labeled. But the core root of the issues, it comes from a real place, and it comes from that real, genuine educational background. And so it's for kids to look at that, you just see every walk of life, every style and vibe. That's important, and you're seeing that more and more. And it's not on right now, but I truly believe it'll come back at some point because it has to.
Oh, yeah.
But when it does, you're going to hit more notes of stuff that's happening in the world right now that are important to talk about, and it gets conversation going.
Sorry, I think people forget that, DEGRASSI was shown in health class for Canadian kids, there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Mitch?
I forgot. You go ahead.
My bad. Sorry.
It's all good.
Okay,
that Canadian moment was brought to you by.
Yeah. I think we're nearly done on the DEGRASSI ones, but I have one more I gotta ask. And do you have any episodes or moments that really stuck out? I know you guys didn't have the Drake "I'm Upset" music video party, which is really unfortunate, but
not yet, at least.
Yeah, maybe you could start rapping.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. No, definitely not a rapper. Honestly, it's I'll say this, and it's an easy answer, but it's the only one I have. I can't pick one because there's too many where they're important to me for different reasons. Some of them are important for me as an actor, just to be able to portray that in a specific way. Some of them are important to me because of the emotion felt between myself or between Aislinn and I that was real. There's some of them were important because they were just fun. Crowd surfing on MDMA, that was fun. And some of them was like Mitch T. Ness directing. That I've known him my whole career. So that happening there, working with different friends, you do 40 episodes a season for 5 seasons. It's going to be hard to pick, but I just loved my whole time there. And I awesome. really, really enjoyed my experience with cast, crew, and production. So I couldn't pick just one.
Fair enough.
All right. So I guess we'll kind of go back to, your career in general here. You have a long career in Canadian television, to begin with, I guess, starting off within television from a very young age on things like The Latest Buzz, which I brought up earlier, and DEGRASSI, of course. And those things are targeted towards more of a younger audience. So how has it been different for you, as an adult now, working in more adult-centric roles like Turbo Kid, Knuckleball, Harpoon, and, genre films like that? Which are directly, intended for adult audiences. How has that been, kind of that transition and that kind of, I guess, maybe period of growth as a, body of work?
It's been huge for me as an actor, I'll say that. I never expected myself to do films like the ones I've done over the last 5-6 years. It's mainly Ironside's fault. And I have him all to blame and to thank. When we did Turbo Kid, that was in between seasons of DEGRASSI, and I never really watched horror thriller films, some genre films I've seen, but I really didn't grow up with it. I grew up more with Scorsese, David Fincher, Derek Cianfrance. I really liked those, and also rom-coms. I was a big guy on that, but I never really expected to do any films like this. So when I did, I didn't know what to expect, and then my appreciation for it just exploded, just to see what actually goes into it. And it's fun. These characters are very, very complex, again, which I love. You look at certain characters that I've been very fortunate to play who are villains, who are these seething, malicious characters, but they're rooted somewhere. like Knuckleball's character for me was, yeah, he's the villain, but he's rooted as a very, very damaged boy. And what happens when you have a past like that? What happens when you're forced to be a part of a family? You didn't choose that. That just happened. And then the ripple effects of that damage. So, you know, there's characters you hear the stories of like Gary Oldman playing Charles Manson. He says, no, I won't do it because he's just evil. There's no redemption there. So like there's, you know, you got to find the redemption in every character you play that's somewhat evil. But I've been very fortunate with like really, really great scripts and just a lot of fun. Honestly, you just dive into those characters and they're hard sometimes to wash off at the end of the day, but they're a lot of fun.
I'm curious to hear how you approach the role of the kid, since it's like a seemingly straightforward archetype of a protagonist, but by the end of the film, we're left with a very complex and well-developed hero. Did you create a backstory for yourself, or did the directors provide that for you, or how did you do your research into that role?
We discussed it. So we talked a whole bunch. We did a whole bunch of rehearsals before production. Yeah, so we did a whole bunch of rehearsals during production, and we built a little bit of it, but not too much. And we just kind of played him as a kid that's kind of a loner. You know, he doesn't really have a core circle of friends, and he's just a kid in the playground. And I resonate with that wholeheartedly, because I was not that kid who had like a lot. I was very much like playing by myself. Or I have a twin brother, so it was mainly me and my brothers hanging out. So I was like, yeah, just he has his stuff, and he enjoys that, and he's very naive and very underdeveloped emotionally. And so I was 22.
20. Oh yeah, it came out when we were 24. Not to sound like a stalker, it's just we're the same age.
That's right. So I think it was 22, 23 when I filmed it. So you're playing him when you 14, 15, and that kind of youth, and playing that young, naive, impressionable kid. And it was just fun. You got to play him like very young Luke Skywalker. That's how we always saw him. He wanted to be the hero, but he didn't know how. And when you get thrust into the ring, say, okay, you're the hero now, how do you react? And sometimes it's hilarious.
Yeah. I absolutely love that, man. And that movie, it's one of my favorites. And I truly think that you're the glue. Like, there's so many amazing elements to that film, but I think it's your performance that really just like, it's the heartbeat of the movie. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I was just kind of wondering, to jump off that, how did you find yourself in that role of the kid? It seems kind of like a dream character to play after spending like maybe a decade making films or television shows targeted towards a younger audience.
Like every other opportunity, honestly, man. It's been I've had a couple opportunities where I get to pick and choose, where like someone's come with an offer, and that's like when someone gets an offer, you just think, yeah, I'll do it. Like it have to be like either offensive or just not ready for you to say no. Because as an actor, like, no, you're giving me a stage to play on. But this was a very normal audition process. I sent a tape. I did an audition. They came in from Montreal, the RKSS, and we did a little screen test. And then they decided I was the right person for the role, which I was so thankful for. And I got to do one of every kid's dream, which is to be the hero.
Wow.
Ever since were in Turbo Kid playing the hero, you've had quite a few roles as more of the dark villainous character. Are you enjoying jumping into those darker roles?
Yeah, I prefer to be the villain, to be honest.
You do like such a good job of it. Like you can just flip that switch, which is something really nice about a lot of your characters, is there's like an underlying evil within all of them.
But it's hard though. I like it because it's a challenge. And not that being a hero is incredibly hard. To be the charming Superman, that kind of thing. Like, to me, I don't see myself that way. So, but to be a villain, I feel like that's, to go back to what we were saying about certain mental illnesses and certain things with mental psychosis, I can root more to a villain. That's fun because it gets complex. I can root it to something that can be a little bit different and something that maybe other people can resonate with. Like, you look at Loki, and Loki is such an interesting villain. Like, and you look at some other villains that are very, like, not everything is going to be, what's the film? De Niro, Cape Fear. Not everything's going to be like fear. Like, that's also very, very different. But I just find villains are, like, I always grew up loving the Joker. Like, I thought the Joker was so interesting. Like, it was always Mark Hamill's Joker for me, growing up. But he's interesting. He's different. They're wild because you can just add so many different layers to them. And so whenever I get the chance to play them, it's a lot of fun.
So kind of talking about that recent slew of, I guess, genre horror films that you've been working on these past couple years. Generally speaking, though, how has it been different for you working within national or international, based projects like something like DEGRASSI or television-focused things that are made for like a wide audience, in juxtaposition with projects like this, which are made independently and are more of like a kind of like the indie circuit, or maybe even more like we were saying, like genre films, kind of more condensed for, smaller, but very, very loud communities. How has that been?
It's been, how do I word it? It's very eye-opening to see the passion behind these films and how very specific you need to be. Like I love Fantasia. Fantasia is easily my favorite festival I've ever been to. Like, when we go to Sundance was incredible. Like, everyone dreams, every actor dreams to go to Sundance, TIFF, Cannes, Tribeca, like those are the ones. And then you go to Fantasia and you get to watch a film in theaters the way it should be seen. Nice. To watch people in theaters scream, laugh, cry, yell at characters, it was watching Turbo Kid and Fantasia open my eyes to the real heartbeat of what genre films are. And they're just fun. They're just enjoying themselves watching it. I feel like sometimes it gets a little too, maybe the word pretentious is a little too hard, but microanalyzing every single little thing where sometimes it can just be fun. Sometimes rom-coms are just fun to watch. Sometimes blood, guts, and gore can be outlandish and wild, and it doesn't have to be this very, very serious thing, especially, right now with everything going on in the world. Sometimes it's fun to watch a film and to laugh and to get little weird weird, quote unquote. And to weird to me is a compliment. If you're a weirdo, you're in my books. So to get weird with it, it's freaking awesome.
Great.
So I don't know if we can swear in this podcast. I've heard
of course.
A couple times before, but we can swear?
Of course.
Totally fine.
Do you got any more?
I was just going to say that you mentioned earlier that you didn't really get into horror films at a young age. It just wasn't really your bag. But since you have been working on them, are there horror films that have stood out to you over the last couple of years that maybe that you're not in, that just have really resonated with you and got you excited about the future of the genre?
See, even though I've seen how the sausage is made, they still scare the shit out of me. So that's the main reason, is because they still scare me. Whenever I watch them, they jump, and I don't like that. I don't truly like that feeling yet. I'm growing to appreciate them a little more. But obviously, the Parasites of the world, and certain other ones, I honestly don't watch them as much because I don't like to get my head into that deep into space, and sometimes it's a little harder to for me, whenever I watch horror, when I saw Insidious for the first time, I literally was driving home from the theater, just looking behind my rear view. I get into that mindset where I get freaked out. But when I do get to sit down with a good film, I really, really appreciate that. It's usually with Alex Williams, who did Helmington. He's like, you gotta watch this film. You have to watch this film. And I'm like, okay, here we go.
That's awesome.
All right. I have a fun question for you. So you first hung out with Starship Troopers star Michael Ironside on Turbo Kid, and you've gotten a couple roles working together since then. So is there are you guys friends? Is there a buddy cop action movie in the future with you two? What's going on?
Any opportunity I get the chance to work with Michael, I will leap. He is where we've become family since Turbo Kid. He's very, very close to me. And I consider myself extremely lucky professionally and personally to know him. Mm-hmm. He is the best way I can describe him is he's got a silver spoon when it comes to cinematic knowledge, but he's got a blue collar work ethic.
Okay.
So he is very sandpapery sometimes in his approach, and he's larger than life in his personality and his voice, but he's the most loving man I've ever met. Mm-hmm. And just kind and fair, and always wants to make sure it's done right. And when he joins onto a project, because he's Michael Ironside, but when he joins onto a project, it's because he actually believes in it, and he wants to do everything he can to make it right and to make it good, because he also comes from a writing background. But no, I really hope we get to work together soon. Because he's in Los Angeles, I'm in Canada now, but with all the restrictions and whatnot. But I'm sure our paths will cross professionally again. But I was talking the other night because we're big Leaf fans, so we were talking about the Leafs game the other night and chatting it up, but I'm sure our paths will cross again on screen.
Are you a fan of Starship Troopers? Have you watched any of his older stuff?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah.
Do you like Starship Troopers?
Sure. It's great.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great. Like,
That's like one of our favorite movies with him.
Yeah, we're big fans over here.
It's wonderful. No, he's everything he's done. He's just so good. Like I remember growing up, like he was like my actors that I grew up with, and this is not a jab at any other actors that because you can just have a list, but I was very Robin Williams, Tom Hanks, Denzel Washington, Julia Roberts, those kind of actors. I loved like Robin Williams is my main. He was always my main guy, just because he could do Fisher King, and then do Flubber, and then Mrs. Doubtfire, and The Descendants. Like I couldn't understand how he could tap into so many different genres all at once. And so that's always been an inspiration for me whenever I want to do a role. If we're reading a script or anything like that, that has that complexity. So that will also, reference back to villains where they can be funny and you can laugh through your fear. And that's where Ron Williams just had that an amazing gift. And so I don't think I'll ever get to that status because he's just iconic. And I think there's something in that he has that is incredible, but I will enjoy the journey trying to get there,
That was the one celebrity death that probably hit me the hardest as well. Like that, he's such an amazing performer and always has been. It was like a household name in my place. So that's really interesting to hear. But also, like when we had initially had Michael Peterson on, he was talking about how Ironside was the one who suggested you. Like that's crazy, man. That like a guy like Michael Ironside who has like so many credits under his belt and is such a legendary actor being like, hey, have you heard about this kid from Toronto? Like that's so cool, man.
It was huge. And that was the one thing that he knew, and that's just what I mean about his knowledge of film, but also his ability as an actor he loves challenging people. He really does. So he knew I'd never done films like that before. So when he read the script, he goes, see if he can do it. And he believed I could. And so that's what I mean. Like I have him to blame and to thank for all these great experiences over the last 5 years. He threw me into the fire, and Knuckleball was the first one because Turbo Kid was still a very naive kid and was still something relatively what I was doing in that genre. But to jump into that genre, you have to challenge yourself in so many different ways. And so the fact that he had confidence in me and the fact that Peterson had confidence in me to tackle that, I'll always be grateful for that.
That's awesome, man. Well, yeah, we won't keep you too much longer. We've really, really appreciated all the time you've given us today, but we've been keeping a close eye on the potential for a Turbo Kid sequel, a movie that seems built to create a franchise. Can you offer any insight into the pre-production process for this? Because I know it's out there, but I don't really know where it's at.
The only thing I'll say is that when I do get the chance to work with the RKSS again, I'll be jumping to do it.
Awesome.
Can't say more than that, but...
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for being here, man. This was seriously amazing for us, and I know I can speak for all of us that we're huge fans, and can't wait to see what you're up to next. But do you have anything that you could plug today? Is there any social medias that you're on that people can follow you on, or do you kind of stay away from that stuff?
I stay away from social media. I truly do. Actually, it's funny. I'm only on social media. I'm on Twitter. So I'm on, my handle is, it's _Munro. Because I got onto it when I was on DEGRASSI because they're like, you need to get Twitter. I'm like, okay. And then I got onto Twitter and I was like, okay, but I don't have Instagram or anything like that. I try to stay away from social media, but go on there. And I got a couple things that'll be coming out in the near future. And they're exciting. I can't talk about them, but they're exciting. So when they come out, I'll put them out on Twitter or there'll be a release or whatever it is. But boys, thank you so much for having me. You guys are doing such a great job, and just listening to some of the previous podcasts, you guys just have such a wealth of knowledge, and you guys are just a really fun listen. So keep up the great work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, man.
Yeah, thank
you.
All right, we'll talk soon, man, and we'll see you guys next time on The Terror Table.
Take care.